So we can, set the motivation first. And I'd like to welcome you all back, even if it's just a few of us for today. So please rejoice that, we have made it this far over the last, over a month, isn't it? Today is the 5th session. And, that you have had this interest to come along on this little journey through the teachings on death and how to prepare for it, and reminding ourselves that everything is in the nature of impermanence. And so, like a dream, the last 4 sessions already went by, and here we are towards the end of another year of our lives. And so then to set the motivation for continuing our learning journey, and to go deeper and deeper into ourselves and towards that great path of transforming our minds. So with that as the thought to bear in mind, then I will go ahead and do the prayers. And if I recall, and we start with offering a mandala, so we can think that whoever that we have faith in, whether it's the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, or if you have a guru, then you think the guru is the same as making offerings to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as well. Or if you have another spiritual belief, then it's important always to make wonderful offerings, in this case to the Buddha, to accumulate merit. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Radna Mandala Kamniyatayami. Then we take refuge and generate bodhicitta with our mindfulness of how we want to live a more meaningful life, and to be mindful of how much time we have left. It is uncertain, and that ultimately we should strive for the highest potential within ourselves and to actualize that. And the highest state would be enlightenment. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my merits of giving and other perfections. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my merits of giving and other perfections. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my merits of giving and other perfections. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Okay, so we are into the final session of the hard advice on death and dying, and we have covered the important process of how one actually dies according to the Buddhist presentation. And just to recap a little bit from where we left off. So what we're going to deal with today is, yes, to just complete our discussion on, how one takes rebirth and the state in between births, and then to look at something that is also very important, how to take care of those who are going to pass away, and then also a little bit about after that. So that's what we're going to cover in the time that we have. Now, I had said, I think at the beginning in the first session, I mentioned this quotation, which is from a book that is published under His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And it is a Tibetan saying which says, everybody dies, but no one is really dead. And this is really a profound, short little sentence, because yes, everybody has impermanence, and we will all continually take rebirth and die, and therefore no one is really dead, because there is this state of rebirth, which I'm just going to recap a little. So last time we had gone through the 8 stages of the death process, the 8 stages of dissolution that one experiences, where the consciousness, our mind, our consciousness that, has taken, this body, gradually recedes and leaves the body. So, just to remind you, of course, if you have that handout that I had sent, you can refer a little bit to it. But, the main thing was that at stage 4 out of the 8 stages is where, in the conventional world, that is accepted as the time of death, when the breath stops. And it is in Buddhism that we go beyond that into looking at the subtle consciousness and the stages of dissolution of that subtle consciousness from stages 5 to 8. And it is only at stage 8 that the consciousness actually leaves the body, and that is when actual death happens. And then that is also the stage at which those who have the ability, what we would call the yogis, people with the qualities or the abilities, and also the interest, actually, to start with, then they would use that phase to begin their meditation on the clear light. And although that is, going into explanations of Tantra, but what I can say here is that those 8 stages that we had looked at, it actually goes in reverse from the point of entering the clear light. Everyone enters the clear light. And everyone also goes through those stages 5 to 8. However, we're not aware of what's happening, and typically just for regular human beings and sentient beings, it just goes through, without being aware. However, I think that's the important thing here with this introduction, because now that you have an idea, then you have the opportunity to become familiar with those 8 stages, looking at the kind of visions that arise, and to actually use the period of falling asleep every night, when we go to sleep, as an opportunity to try to think that, entering the state of sleep, or the state, the dream state, is similar to passing into total unconsciousness, and to try to familiarize in your own minds what is it that one should see, the mirage, and then smoke, and then gradually in that way to fall asleep. And through that kind of familiarity, then perhaps at the time that we really lose full consciousness, that we can strive to keep awareness or to know that these things are taking place. So anyway, it goes in the reverse stage from the eighth stage, meaning that when you had the description of the mind of white appearance, the mind of red near attainments, and then the black, so in those stages, then you can, the practitioner would actually be putting their awareness, the mind of increase and then the mind of near attainment. The practitioner would be putting their awareness on this and using it in their understanding of the tantric stages to then have realizations and to use that as a path of practice. So perhaps if you have the interest, then later on you can seek out the appropriate classes or the teachers who can explain this to you more, firstly with having entered, the stages of Tantra, with taking initiations and so forth. So anyway, that's quite advanced, but I thought to just plant those seeds for you if you've never heard of it before. So actually then when one completely loses that consciousness, then the one who has passed through that has gone into what we call the intermediate state, or you might have heard of it as the bardo, using the Tibetan term. And this stage of bardo is in between one life and the next. And this covers more or less all realms of sentient beings, except for beings that take rebirth in the formless realm. So it's said that if they take rebirth in the formless realm, then there is no intermediate state. Anyway, that's just to give you the idea, but generally one passes through the intermediate state. I might have said a little bit about it, but we'll go a bit more into the specifics. So when the consciousness leaves, and one is really separated from the body, it is through the where the heart is. However, when it actually exits the body itself and continues on its journey, then it is said that according to karma, then the consciousness exits at particular points of the body. So I don't know if you've heard of this movie or this documentary called Tukdam. I think they spell it as Thukdam. It's a documentary that was produced probably over 10 years ago now, involving, the endorsement, I think, from His Holiness the Dalai Lama to allow scientists, Western scientists, to be able to research further and explore this, passage of beyond clinical death. And it's a very interesting documentary if you ever get to watch it. Maybe I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, it's, it's available. And it's kind of bringing in a few examples of people who had passed away and giving accounts of their time of death. And there are clips showing how the scientists, hear about this particular person, like a possible, person for research. And then, of course, there's agreement between both sides, with the families and everything. And so I think it's particularly for the monasteries because His Holiness gave permission for the scientists to go into some of the Gelug monasteries and to hook people up with, the wires and put them at specific points and to kind of see what's happening with heartbeats and everything. The documentary is called Tukdam. Um, yeah, I'll try and type it up now. If I either it's with a K or a D, a G, THUK or THUG. Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, so you can look that up. Yes, anyway, so I'm not sure how successful the scientists were in actually being able to detect the passing of the consciousness because for the traditional methods, it is with a sense of touch and putting the hand close to where the heart is of the deceased, and to sense whether at certain points the warmth has left the body. So yeah, that's just to give you a little extra insight into this process and what's happening in contemporary times. And so what's actually happening is that as the when a consciousness exits the body, it is you know because I had talked about okay, yeah, there's a machine, but I think that that's what the movie didn't have a conclusion about at the end because that was over 10 years ago. So maybe there have been updates about it. So anyway, what happens is that, I had talked about the subtle white and red drops dissolving into the heart in the central channel, into what we call the indestructible drop, which resides in our heart and is the basis of our consciousness. And this is what exits the body. Yeah. So anyway, that's something you can look into. And however, when the consciousness itself actually leaves the body, then it is said to exit at particular points according to the karma of the next rebirth. So for humans, I've read that it exits through the eye, and maybe for the God realm, then through the crown, and then some of the lower parts of the body, then that is considered not so favorable. So yeah, you can look into Lamrim texts and some other texts to find out more about it. So in terms of when it has exited the body and it is now the intermediate state being, then one thing is that it no longer associates with the body that it has left behind. It has already taken the form of more or less, of the rebirth that it is likely to go towards. And also, the other kind of characteristics about an Abado being is that it has got this ability of non-obstructiveness, which means that one can move through the walls and solid objects easily and is no longer obstructed by things that appear solid. And that it seems to have the ability to have clairvoyance, to kind of know, what others are thinking and those kind of things, or to see things at a distance. And so these are some of the characteristics. So just to remind us also of the verse from Lama Tsongkhapa, the foundation of all good qualities. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. And therefore, from the stage of being in that intermediate state, then the results of the karma to be experienced are, ripening. So just a bit more of a glimpse that it is also said that if one is to be reborn as a hell being, then there is this appearance of looking like a burnt log. And if one is to take rebirth as a human or in a so-called like a god realm, a pure realm, then there's a golden appearance or like a whitish kind of appearance. So yeah, and according to what I've just quoted, so the results of black and white karma follow. I'm going to comment a little bit more about karma in a short while, but let's just complete this explanation of the intermediate state. So one remains in the intermediate state for up to 49 days before the actual rebirth takes place, and there's sort of no more remaining in the intermediate state. However, before that, between 0 and 49 days, the intermediate state could already have taken the next birth. Every 7 days, the Bardo being experiences like a mini kind of death where it sort of passes away. And so every 7th day, which is why, like, if you've noticed when prayers are being done for high lamas who have passed, then we always observe the 7th day of the passing every week. More prayers are done up to the 49th day because that is a time where the intermediate state being could possibly complete its stay there and take its next rebirth. Yeah. So then let's just summarize here the process of being reborn. So we'll stick with, being reborn human again. We all wish to have a good rebirth as a human, or if not in a pure land. So what happens is that, let's say at the 49th day, that intermediate state being will somehow feel drawn to a particular couple, a family, let's say, due to their karmic links, yeah, from previous karma. And so, you're kind of very drawn to go towards those particular individuals. And so then, of course, has to be a time when the couple are, having sex. Otherwise, then how do we come out, right? So for the one who is going to take a male rebirth, then it is said that they are very drawn towards the woman. And for one who is going to be reborn as a female, then one is very drawn to the man. So then the intermediate state is very drawn to where the couple is. And then, however, upon coming very close and actually seeing, I guess with its vision, seeing what is actually taking place, then somehow some kind of, well, I'm just really reading or how do you say, paraphrasing whatever I've read, that it develops kind of an anger of seeing the couple. And at that moment, then the consciousness enters into the womb and becomes the fertilized ovum. So this is what Buddha said over 2,600 years ago, right? And then that is how one takes rebirth as a little baby boy or baby girl, if we are to take another precious human rebirth. Okay. So then, I mentioned that verse from Lama Tsongkhapa, according to one's black or white karma, right? So I've already explained that, white refers to virtuous karma, and then I guess darkness always kind of indicates something negative. So that's kind of how we look at it. Now, therefore, one takes rebirth according to karma. And although we don't really have the space here to go in depth into karma, and maybe some of you already have studied it, but just here's a little summary. So in terms of karma, which is action, it has the karma has the characteristic of multiplication, so it strengthens as time goes on. And so there are 4 ways in which karma works towards influencing or affecting the next lifetime, which is that the weightiest karma, maybe you say weightiest or heaviest or strongest karma that one has done in one's life will ripen first. So whether it's very positive or very negative, then that will ripen first. And so, for example, we were looking at examples of accumulating a lot of merit through generosity and charitable giving and things like that. So let's say if one has that as the heaviest karma in one's lifetime, then that would ripen in terms of, let's say, being born where, one would have all the resources, many kind of resources, right? And and also being born human again, so if it's equal, though, this is where it's kind of relating to this topic, that if it says that, you can look up, let's say, the Lamrim Chenmo, that when the weights of both karma are kind of equal, then the karma that is at the time of death is very crucial. And therefore why I've been going on quite a bit about how, we need to make sure that at the time of death, we should have no regret, we should not have worries or fears, and let these kind of things disturb us, because, it affects the future rebirth, right? Then 2 other aspects are that, the actions that one has been habitually doing throughout life, our habits, what we're most familiar with, as well as the actions that were done the earliest in our life, right? So, yeah. These would have strength, because I guess, if you look at actions that were done earliest, then because karma multiplies, then as our life goes on, then whatever action it is, it's continually multiplying throughout, right? And then in terms of actions that we're habituated to, then that makes sense in terms of what we've been talking about, that, here in this topic, we're looking at mindfulness and, reflecting on impermanence and motivating ourselves to practice virtuously, to transform our negative habits, because whatever that we are most familiar with, we take this along as well, right? So that's just to give you an idea, and also to understand that because everything is in the nature of impermanence, then we shouldn't again feel like, worried or panic, or like, oh, the stuff that I've done or things like that, because we can change that. We can change our karma while we're still here and able to make those changes, and use our kind of wisdom, our intelligence, and a good motivation to do that, and to just gradually move our mind in the direction where it would be most positive for us. Yeah. Yeah. So that, brings us to kind of closing on this topic, just understanding that karma does play a big part, and therefore, the state of mind at the time close to dying is really important to nurture that, and to kind of be aware, and that also helps us to transition into our next and final topic, which is to how to care for the dying, and to talk about the different aspects of that. I think some of you had interest in this particular section. So when we talk about caring for the dying, and then also the deceased, then one thing that I would like to bring up here is that you don't need to just apply this to someone else. As we're listening to this and thinking about this, then these are all absolutely relevant to ourselves, to our own process that we would undergo one day. And therefore, that while we're thinking of being the caregiver for someone else, we should also look at this in terms of being the caregiver for ourselves, in terms of what to be aware of, what are the things that we should prepare and to do, and what would be helpful to us and what would not be so helpful. Okay, so that's just kind of setting it up here. And there's two aspects that come up here in this section, which is, of course, one is immediately, I think you would think of it as the emotional aspect, right? Because if you're taking care of someone else, then definitely there's a lot to do with the relationship, a lot to do with feelings, and mental health, that comes up for yourself. So according to what has been laid out in the course materials for this particular course, a lot of input from Venerable Sangye Kadro, that there are a lot of kind of emotional suggestions, but I mean, we're talking here more in terms of Dharma, and we're not trying to provide a counseling service. And in fact, one should be aware that while we practice spiritually, if you have emotional needs, then you should seek professional help in that regard. Yeah, it's not a substitution. But because the main point that I've been stressing is that our state of mind and the state of mind of the one who is being cared for is very important. The peace of mind, a very positive state. If even to bring a feeling of happiness. These are the main objectives. And so in terms of what I'm just going to go through, it's with that end in mind. Yeah. So it's important, as I just kind of mentioned, that we create a lot of peace around the person who is going to pass, whether it is for another or when we eventually have to prepare for ourselves. Peaceful, calm environment, that will support an internal state that goes peacefully. This is really important. And so, I think just most obviously in this aspect is and of course here we're talking about someone who has the opportunity to pass away due to natural causes, that they're lying in a bed and there's some hours and time and things like that. Of course, it's a bit more. I mean, the circumstances are different if it's a sudden death or something else that has happened that involves trauma of various kinds. However, even in those cases, if there is some way to help make it peaceful, then this is the key thing to bear in mind. Yeah. So one should not do or say things that would make them upset or agitated, or start to develop fear to the point of showing panic and things like that. And therefore, what we say to and around that person in those final weeks, days, hours, minutes, this is really key. And it's one of the things to really be mindful of all the way. So alongside of those, then what I've selected to share is being a good listener. Sometimes if we have the chance to visit with them and sit with them and things like that, then to be cheerful, and to be able to listen well, remind them of all the positive, happy kind of memories, allow them to talk if they're able to still communicate. And generally just making it happy kind of visit, right? And if we can also educate the people that are around us who are also going to participate, like family members, to do the same, that would be best. So one thing that Lama Zopa Rinpoche brought up in his teachings, which is in the book, is that the person who is going to be there at the time of the passing of the dying person should be someone who has a good relationship with the dying person. It should be someone with a positive, happy relationship, because again, the emotions are important at that point. And to not have someone there who would disturb the mind of the one who is about to pass, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And also, if there's really too much attachment, that would cause the dying person to feel that attachment and to cling on and to start to develop a very strong clinging at the crucial time of passing, then it's also better for those people to not be present, and to just be in the background, and not to be the main person. I will go into the spiritual parts of it soon. So then also to create an environment around the dying person that would uplift their mind. So Rinpoche himself suggested putting a lot of flowers, and I think that's really nice, like looking at flowers, pretty flowers with a nice fresh smell. That somehow just makes us feel better, usually. So if that can be arranged, or or plants or things like that. And yeah. And then also for oneself, who is the one being the caregiver, then it's important to take care of our own emotional state, because it's not an easy kind of service to offer to another. And we need to just, be very mindful to care for our own mental states while one has to go through such a phase, to, take a step back and to find space for oneself if needed, and to get support from outside if needed, and to also, especially if you're caring for someone that you have a very close relationship with, then to be mindful of not projecting, that clinging very strongly, as I talked about before, like, crying and wailing, and being very, showing very a lot of disturbance in one's own mind. And in terms of support for the caregiver, then there is this concept which seems to be quite popular these days in different communities, and that's been called a death cafe. I'm not sure if you've come across this concept, or come across a death cafe where people get together, like a circle, and I guess it could be in a coffee shop, but mainly it's to sit together and be in a community where you can share, exchange your thoughts, and discuss the topic of death with other people, and to be able to hear what others have to say, as well as to be able to express yourself in that kind of unit. And within the Buddhist community, I know that they have a death cafe group over in London at the FPMT Center, the Jamyang Buddhist Center. One of the nuns, senior nuns there, it seems that they organized this over many years already. So there's something like that if, in Tupten or just somewhere in your own community that, you'd like to set something like this up. This is an idea. I think they also have this in one of the Australian centers, because they do have hospice groups and things like that. So yeah, so this is something that supports those who are playing the role of caring. Yeah. Then there's also this kind of reaching out to others for prayers, and yeah, maybe that will come in the next part. So then when it comes to the time where the one who is being cared for is reaching the time of passing away, then again, the atmosphere is important, and to keep it as calm as possible. Well, early this year, I was invited or requested to visit someone who had been who I knew, who had attended some classes that I had done, and he had cancer, and he was in a hospice, and his daughter thought that if I could go and visit him. And well, one of the things that I advised was that, because it was just a few hours, I think it was the next day, but that whatever kind of grief that has to be expressed, do not do not display it in front of the person who is passing, especially like a heavy outpouring of grief. Take it outside of the room, take it somewhere else. Yeah, thank you, Karen, for sharing. Yes. So take it outside of the room into where it cannot be heard or seen by the dying person. And then also to just keep the atmosphere as calm as possible, because sometimes if it's in a hospital situation, then there might be a lot of movement of medical personnel in and out of the room. So if you have the opportunity to, then to try to express your wishes to the medical staff, right? And then here are some things that to mention, and which might be considered a little bit sensitive. So I'm not saying this to offend anyone, because there are reasons, and also I'm quoting from Rinpoche's writing. In particular, I'm going to give you a list of resources at the end of this, and this book or a similar book is included in the quotes. So, especially these days, there's this interest in bringing in therapy animals and, those kind of interventions. That's fine if, someone is just, a resident in a care home, right? To go cheer them up and things. But if one is soon to pass away, then Rinpoche actually wrote that there shouldn't be any pets present, in particular cats, because of an association between spirits and cats. So I said that I don't mean to offend anyone, but this is what is said, and there must be reasons for it. So, be very sensitive that, here we're just wanting to do what's best for the one who is going to pass away. And also to not like put animal skins over the person, or as a what do you call it, a sheet on the bed or anything like that. So no animal skins. Again, there's some different reasons. And then also to not have any tobacco being smoked in the environment, because again, it seems that there's some polluting of the channels from this. And just to explain slightly more on the tobacco part, that one High Lama, I'm not sure, that Lama Zopa quoted one of his gurus. I'm not sure which one. I don't want to misquote. So it was a High Lama who, you do transference of consciousness, what we call POA practice. And that the Lama had said that, has the person smoked or tobacco or something? And if they had, then they couldn't do POA for them, because then it had already, the smoke affects the channels in the body, and that it was not possible to do the POA practice. So just to offer these up as things to be aware of if you are able to manage these. And yeah, just mainly to keep it quiet and peaceful all through the dying process and up to when the person has passed away. So I'd now like to go into the other part of this, which is the spiritual aspect, and to present to you different methods as taught, particularly by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. As I kind of spent these last weeks reviewing some of the material that I have or have been very blessed to receive from even years ago, that I now really see how very, how much bodhicitta Rinpoche was, and so much care and just unimaginable love and compassion for sentient beings. The details, the descriptions, just everything is just amazing. So I'd like to just present a taste of that, right? So one of the things that we talked about 1 or 2 weeks ago was about practice of the 5 powers and how it's important to accumulate as much merit as possible. So even when one is about to pass away or has passed, then this accumulating of merit should continue to be channeled in, because this all feeds in towards the future rebirth. So as the caregiver or caring for yourself, then highly recommended to have I'm reading that there are quite a lot of questions in the chat. I think that I'm going to just carry on right now. I think that some of the things that you have asked, I will be covering. And if I don't, then at the end, I'm hoping that we have time for a few minutes. And if I missed out your question, if you could please ask again, okay? Or that if I can look at those questions towards the end. So it's important to have the presence of holy objects and different kinds of cards and different materials that would bring a benefit, that are beneficial. Well, I have a question here that I read. Can you clear channels if you have smoked? Then I think if it is sometime before the person had gone to the process towards the dying process, then perhaps that over time then one could do purification practices. But I think that when I quoted the incident just now, it's probably more immediate towards the time of death. So that is what I can say. I mean, there are people who become part of the Dharma circle, and they do give up their whatever habits that they had in the past. So over time, I'm sure that the time and the purifications will help. So this is maybe more immediate. So when I talk about all these holy objects and cards and etc., then here, I'm assuming everyone here is within the circle of Dharma. However, if you have different spiritual beliefs, or the person who's passing has different spiritual beliefs, then we should be mindful of these, right? So what kind of holy objects am I talking about? So you could have stupas, mantras, pictures of various Buddhas, like Medicine Buddha, or Chenrezig or Tara. You could put it, above the bed, or somewhere where the person can see it, it's visible to them, or that they know that it's nearby. Because sometimes even the sense of having something that you have faith in close to you brings you peace, isn't it? So it could be a crucifix for those who are Christian, with a picture of Mother Mary or Jesus, or things like that. If we're thinking of various other spiritual beliefs, right? So these are just examples. Here I'm going to focus mainly on talking about the Buddhist context. So I have, and also if for yourself, if you have a connection with your guru, then of course, most important is to remember your guru at the time of death. And, maybe just this is crossing back a little bit into earlier when I talked about the person who is the main caregiver or going to be there at the passing should be one who has a very good relationship with the patient, the person, because Rinpoche advised that one should be saying the name of the guru into the ear of the one who's passing away. The best, of course, is to, if one has a guru, a spiritual guide, to remember and have faith in that spiritual guide to help you at the time of death. And so to have that one who has a good relationship to kind of say it loudly into the ear of the one who is passing away, like, maybe His Holiness, or any other person. And just please adapt this according to your spiritual background as well. Yeah. So I have a couple of things that I've put close by that to show in case you need examples. So I mentioned a stupa. You can, oops, I can put it in front. So this is a small one, as you can see. I got this quite some years back from the Foundation Store, which is a resource that I'm going to offer at the end of this session. And it's actually a part of the Liberation toolkit. Anyway, I'll say more about these things later on. So it's an example of a stupa. And so, you can, while the person is still present, you can occasionally just put it on the top of their head to, so someone just asked about contact with the body. So yeah, touching it to their body, and because within it are many powerful mantras, all in the little rolls within it. It's been filled, and therefore they receive the benefit of the blessing of those mantras. Then I have also, just to show a little statue, or tsatsa we call it. This one is of, I have to put it like that, of Amitabha Buddha, which I received from one of my gurus, Amitabha Buddha. So again, within the statue, there are many, there are mantras, and also it was consecrated by the Lama. So again, touching it or letting them see it or putting it on their crown, right? So that they receive the blessing. And then also scriptures and texts. So this one is a miniature version yeah, because you can see my hand and, it's not big. This is the one version of the Prajna Paramita Sutras. As you know, the Buddha taught the Prajna Paramita, the perfection of wisdom sutras at Vulture Peak, and there are many different versions: 8,000 verses, 10,000 verses, 15,000 verses, 100,000 verses. And of course, there's the Heart Sutra. So this one is the 8,000 verses. Anyway, you also put that close by and, touch it to the head now and then. And then also good to have around is, I've got things to show, like a little museum. So this is a prayer wheel, a tabletop prayer wheel. Of course, the other kind of prayer wheels is when you see people turning like that. So this is actually a very precious gift that I received, a personal gift from Lama Zopa Rinpoche some years ago. And someone had given this to him and he had used it. And then, I feel very fortunate that Rinpoche gave this to me. So anyway, there are hundreds and millions of mantras inside. So, every time when you turn it, then there's the benefit of those hundreds and millions of mantras. So, yeah. And then one other thing from my little display here is, I don't know how I'm gonna, yeah. This I think I have to, because it's it's a card. There. It's a card with a picture in the center of His Holiness, and then various deities like Vajrasattva, Amitabha, Chandrasekhar, and Tara, and all that. But more importantly, also Rinpoche had this specially designed, and there are 10 powerful mantras here in the Tibetan script, as well as, in you can read it in English phonetics. 10 powerful mantras. And so it's also good to have these kind of cards, near, put on the wall or something like that nearby. And again, to occasionally touch it to the head, and even to, depending on the spiritual belief of the person, you can read it quietly in the background if you think they don't want to hear that. Always respect other people's religious beliefs, I feel. Yeah, because we may think we have this and that, but we want to make it so that they pass away peacefully. That's the main thing. So those are some examples to show you. And then, reciting sutras, mantras, various sutras, like I mentioned the Heart Sutra, because that's the shortest Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. There's also prayers like the King of Prayers, which is, highly advised to do, before, during, and after someone's passing. Yeah. And many other examples, and particularly the Medicine Buddha mantra, the Medicine Buddha practice, because of the promise that the Medicine Buddha and his 7 brothers, they're 6 brothers, there's 7 Medicine Buddhas, the promise that they made to benefit sentient beings and to fulfill their prayers and all their wishes when they achieved enlightenment. And therefore, that's what makes it really powerful. And then if the person is Buddhist friendly, then you could have play the sound of mantras, because you can't always be sitting there reciting. You can play recordings, and Rinpoche also left behind many recordings that have been done in different formats, which you can obtain even from YouTube, and Rinpoche chanting the Medicine Buddha mantra. And I so happen to have Well, this is I got this made by my center ABC. It's the Golden Light Sutra because Rinpoche gave the oral transmission in Australia. Well, I can't remember which year, but yeah. And then so this was in CD, but now I think everything is in another format, digital. So yeah, you can play in the background, and so that it's like background music. You can play Om Mani Padme Hum, and so the person just benefits from the sound of all these holy chanting. And then well, I've got quite a list to go through, so just bear with me. Then there are special pills. So I talked just now about the Liberation Tools Kit, which, okay, well, Foundation Store does not carry it anymore, but many of you are on the American West Coast or not. So Land of Medicine Buddha still produces them, and you can pick it up there, or they can ship it to you. So again, I'm going to provide all those, in my list. So in a part of that, besides that stupa that I showed you, there's a little packet with a precious pill. It's called the POA pill, PHOWA. POA is the practice of the transferring of consciousness, which is usually transferring the consciousness to be reborn in Amitabha Pure Land and other favorable things like that. And you would want to ask a high practitioner, someone who's qualified to be able to do such things. However, we don't all have. Karen is running ahead. All right, just bear along, okay? So then you have a POA pill, and if you don't have a POA pill, then it could be an inner offering pill or other blessed pills. So, obviously close to death, the person can't really swallow. So, you can crush it into fine powder, put it with some water, and, just dab it on the tongue. Or if they're still able to swallow, then have them swallow it. If not, then at the time of passing, then one can put a little bit like a paste and put it on the crown of the person. So when they're going to pass away, then okay, maybe before that. So at the time of passing, as we already talked about, importance of dedicating away our possessions so that we don't have attachment to our things, or other people don't have attachment to their things. And so these kind of arrangements should also be considered, right? Then if possible, then one should lie in the lion posture that I talked about. I mean, sometimes depending on the situation, this is not possible, but then just do the best you can. If they're very close to their last breath, then you are advised to actually, after the person has passed away, we should be very careful about not disturbing the body as much as we can. I'll go into that. But also to not touch all over the place, wherever, you feel like you'll be holding their hand or this and that. So be careful because I talked about where the consciousness leaves the body. And, we want to motivate it towards leaving at the best place, right? So touching their crown, like, if there's some hair, then you're encouraged to just tug a little bit at the hair, at the crown chakra, to just encourage the consciousness to exit at that point, or to put some of the pill paste there, or to just touch a holy object lightly there, just to encourage that point. Yeah. Another thing is that this take a step back, is that I had meant to talk about Tonglen practice, but at the rate we're going, we don't really have the time to go there. But Tonglen, if you're familiar with it, is the practice of taking away the suffering of others into ourselves and giving them all the happiness that one could wish for. And if you see someone in pain and very ill, like a lot of physical pain or mental suffering, then watching them, you might be thinking, what am I going to do? I feel so terrible just looking at them. So you can do a Tonglen practice, which is taking, breathing in their suffering onto your breath and feel that it destroys your own self-cherishing at your heart. And then you breathe out radiant light, carrying all the great wishes and aspirations and happiness that you can, imagine, and giving it to them. I was going to, if we had time, to do this meditation practice with Tonglen, but I have typed it up and I'll send it to you. And if you have the interest, just take yourself through the meditation. And it's a modified Tonglen practice, because full Tonglen practice is breathing in all the sufferings of all sentient beings and giving all sentient beings our happiness. But we may not be so ready for that extent. So we start slowly. We can just start with one person or a few. So I've described it in the kind of like a final homework practice. All right. Okay. So let's go through this last bit here, which is so the person has passed away, right? Then what do you do? So again, this relates to what you would like to be done for yourself. You could leave instructions behind, or if you're caring for someone else, okay? So to care for the deceased, and I mentioned, as you look through the 8 stages of dissolution, that typically it would take about 3 days for the consciousness to leave the body, right? So it's not, thinking about in ancient places in Tibet where they could leave the body and things like that. We live in a modern world where, doctors and other kind of things, family wishes all come into play. So what are you going to do? So sometimes if you ask the permission of the hospice or the medical side, to just allow the body to be undisturbed for a length of time, right? Like as long as they would allow. Sometimes some hospitals are quite willing to do this, to say not disturb the body for a few hours, or as long as they would allow, sometimes 6 or 7 hours before they say that no, we really have to move the body. Then yeah, and then as I said, be careful where you yourself contact the person who is deceased, right? And prepare that pour pill. And also the liberation toolkit comes with a blessing cord that's been blessed with the recitation of many mantras, so this can be done already before the person passes. You can put the string around their neck, like a little chain, or around their hand, their wrist, so they have that touching their body. We want these blessings to touch them, right? And also, as somebody asked in the chat, to put mantra cards, like the main one that's advised by Rinpoche was the Namgyalma deity. Namgyalma is one of the long life deities, but anyway, to put this card with a mantra on the body of the person, perhaps over the heart. So we have something that Rinpoche created, or originated, which was a kind of like a blanket in different sizes with the Nam Gyalma mantra printed on it. It's quite pretty with flower pattern and everything, and came in, because I'm not sure about the stocks, but there's 3 sizes. So depending on the size of the person, including a smaller one for a pet, you know. And then so if you have that, then you lay it over the person with the mantra side facing down, so that the mantra touches the person's body, right? And then you can lay it on throughout, I guess, unless you need to remove it and you plan to, because some of you might be in hospice work and you want to continue to have it benefit someone else. So anyway, there are these different things. So there are even like amulets with all the mantras that can be put on the person's chest, for example. Okay, so there's a lot of things to benefit. And like a prayer wheel, in the presence of the person, that someone can turn it occasionally. Because if there's no Lama present to do a poa, or even, the Lama doesn't always have to be present. You can request the Lama or a qualified person who is in another place, and they can do the practice at that particular time. However, if these resources are not available, then Rinpoche said that having a prayer wheel with all these millions of mantras inside close by, that is very powerful as a form of doing poa as well. There's also a ritual called the Changwa ritual, which is like a purifying ritual for the deceased. And we have that at Amitabha Buddhist Center. Every year we do a Jangwa, during a certain time of the year. And so people will contribute names of the deceased, and prayers can be done. That's very helpful during the 49 days, or also later on. I'm just giving a lot of information, so just whatever you can absorb right now. If not, don't stress about it. Okay, I'm giving you the handout soon. So then throughout eventually then, of course, one has to prepare for a funeral and so forth. So just have an understanding that these are things that can benefit. And also offering lights on behalf of the deceased is considered very important. Offering light, dedicating for them to attain wisdom, to develop bodhicitta. So lights can be candle lights, tea lights, or a little lamp that you light in memory of the person. Little gestures like that. Then the 49 days, what are you going to do? So, you can recite mantras, the 10 powerful mantras, or just Om Mani Padme Hum, or the Medicine Buddha mantra, which I've typed up and put in the handout as well. You can write to request for prayers to be done on behalf of the deceased. For example, from a monastery that you're familiar with, Kopan Monastery, everything is reachable via email, website, whatever. So you can request for pujas, or even from a Dharma center that does these things. You put the names for dedication. You can do a lot of animal liberation practice. This also helps the deceased, and particularly to use their funds, if possible, if not all, to do on their behalf, but if they have some funds, their possessions, right? So some money that's put aside for these kind of practices, that's the best if it came from their own funds. for these pujas, for the animal liberation, or to print copies of, sutras, of texts. These are all considered ways to accumulate merit. So, in terms of why these things would help the departed, firstly, if as a caregiver, if you have blood ties with the one who has passed, then that's one of the ways in which you have a strong lineage connection with that person through your family or blood connection. Another is if, as I said, they use their own possessions, their money that could be used for pujas and such things, right? Then if, that person has a spiritual guide that they have entrusted themselves to, like even someone they took refuge from. So there's that guru-disciple relationship. And so for that guru to do prayers for them, that's also very powerful. And also if you live in the same kind of, or practice in the same community, because like when monks and nuns, right, they live together in the same monastic community, they share food and, they share the same space. So they share that connection to possessions, you see. And through that, then the prayers are also effective. So we can think also in terms of just being part of the same Dharma community and having that shared practice. And this helps, right? So you could also create or reach out to support groups. In Amitabha Buddhist Center, we have kind of an informal prayer group that we set up on WhatsApp. And, people kind of will send messages and say, oh, can you please pray for so-and-so, dedicate for so-and-so. They've just passed away. They're going to pass away, or they're very sick. They've just had an injury. Please pray for their recovery, stuff like that. So, you might consider reaching out within your own communities to have, this kind of group prayer and dedication. So just a couple more of spiritual practices that can be included. Reciting. This is maybe for those who do already are familiar with Buddhist practice. Reciting the Guru Puja with even doing talk offering, to benefit the deceased. If not, then requesting others to do on their behalf, right? Then doing purification practices on their behalf, especially if it's like a family member. Then, you could do the confession practice, various purification practices on their behalf. Confession prayer of the 35 Buddhas, reciting the names of the medicine Buddhas, reciting Vajrasattva mantras, things like that, right? And then, you might ask also, I don't know if you have, but what else could you do? So then we could, in a society or in a country like where I am, where we are very short of space, so burial is seldom or hardly ever done anymore, I think, because we have no more land for that. But so there's cremation. So then there's ashes from the cremation. And so one can take some of the ashes, or even for a burial, you can take some of their hair or their, a bit of the fingernails and put this aside. And what are you going to do with it? You can use that to be placed in a stupa, to make tatas, tiny little clay figurines of like Buddhas and things like that. And who do you go to? Well, I'm not sure if Lama Medicine Buddha does this, but the Nalanda Monastery in France, in south of France, where we have a center, they do this service because they have a tsa making facility. So that's one way. Then, in India, in Bodh Gaya, there is the Root Institute, one of our FPMT centers, Root as in ROOT in Bodh Gaya. You can order a stupa to be made and then somehow send the ashes there, and they would, or someone bring the ashes there and they would put it inside a stupa that would be dedicated to that person. And they have a stupa garden in remembrance of the deceased with a name, a plaque, right? In Australia, at Chenrezig Institute, then they have very gifted artists. There's Gary Fawkes, who makes stupas. I think he's still making them or has a workshop. And so that's another place where a larger sized stupa can be made, or maybe smaller ones. So these are just different ideas that I can present. And, a lot of these things that I have been mentioning, as I said, it's through the kindness of Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche in particular, that there's this book, um, How to Enjoy Death, Preparing to Meet Life's Final Challenge Without Fear, which was originally through Wisdom Publications. I understand that this book in this particular form is no longer being published. However, they have another version which is downloadable, and I've also provided that in my handout. Yes, so that brings me to the end of talking through this long list of advice from the lamas and sharing a little bit of my experience on what to do to help others, and also especially to help ourselves when the time comes, and to prepare by thinking of these ideas, becoming familiar or interested in looking up these resources, exploring further, and particularly to always just keep death and impermanence at the forefront in our daily lives. So in case I missed anything out, so yes, I had wanted to give you this practice of Tonglen, but I will send you the handout shortly that you can do on your own, as and all the other meditations that you could continue to develop and cultivate for yourself. So I'm just going to summarize what I'm providing in the resource list. Maybe I should send it across then, and then you had a lot of questions. Yes, okay. Yes, I think I've covered it. I think if you like, you could reach out to Amitabha Buddhist Center with regard to the liberation blankets. You can look up our email via our website for those. And write to the office at the center. I can't do that myself. Yeah, the liberation blanket was actually originated by Rinpoche, and that we just followed his advice here. So let's look for my file. So in that handout, I've given you a list, a few, it's not many, book resources by Rinpoche, by Lama Yeshe, and also I had quoted from about this Christine Longacre, and so these are different titles you could look up. And I've provided the website, Foundation Store website. Just know that it's not a hyperlink, so you would need to copy and paste into your browser. Then there are physical resources that I've mentioned, the Liberation Tool Set, which it's available through Land of Medicine Buddha. I checked their website and it's still available. Then there's the Liberation Card for Dying Person, which I had flashed to show you, that big yellow card that's available through Foundation Store. And then there's also, in terms of prayer support, there is that other website link that I've provided at the end, which is, you know, through the FPMT, if you'd like to request for prayers for the deceased, there are some links placed there, including one that you could email to request prayers, well, at least dedication, a name in the dedication list from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It used to be also to request Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So I'm not sure who else is in that list, but you know, and also if you have direct connection to your own teachers, then you should also contact them when the time is, when it's needed at that time. I'm going a little over, but is there any pressing question that anyone would like to ask, to just make sure that you end this session with, you know, settling any kind of queries that you had? Anyone would like to ask? It's a lot, and I hope that it's not been confusing, and that it's been helpful, you know, for our daily practice and reflection, while we still have that wonderful, precious human rebirth, and also all the resources that can help. There's many more details if you download the book from Rinpoche, and that would go into much more detail. But I think for the purpose of presenting, you know, in this platform, and also when it's being viewed by those who are not present, then I just want to make sure that it's comprehensive enough, but it doesn't hopefully confuse anyone. So there are no questions? You're all good? That's wonderful. So thank you. Thank you. It's really been quite a little journey over the last month. And I thank the Nobeling Center for having me and giving me this opportunity to meet all of you and to share a little bit with all of you. And I wish you all the best in your onward journey, to always remember to do whatever practice that you can. Yeah, it's really important. So if not, then we'll go into our, thank you. We'll go into our dedications, and just think that due to being able to listen and meet with people and talk about this, that has really enriched our minds and brought us one step closer on our path to enlightenment. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious Supreme Bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. And to whichever spiritual guides that you have connection with, particularly to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, then we pray for his and their long and stable, healthy lives. And may all your wishes be fulfilled. And my best greetings and regards to all of you for your celebrations, for whatever you have accomplished throughout this year, and looking forward to another year of practice.